Welcome to Pirate Living Podcast. We are your hosts, Karan and Kristen. On this podcast, we are highlighting ordinary people living extraordinary lives. These are pirates who take small, bold actions daily to create social change. Pirate life is all about rebelling and breaking the rules for good. Creating lasting social change starts by first breaking our inner rules. After all, the hardest rules to break are your own. The pirates we highlight have dedicated themselves to creating good trouble.
Today, we are talking with Helen Ryan of Real World Weight Loss and the host of the podcast Walking and Talking with Helen. She is also the author of the books 21 Days to Change Your Body, the 21 Days Pocket Guide, and the upcoming book Mad Musings of a Dieter. Helen is an entrepreneur running a digital marketing studio and a chocolate-loving lifestyle coach. She has had quite the life journey and now helps people create new habits and stay motivated. And Helen, we're excited to have you here today.
Well, thank you. I love the name of your podcast. I could not wait to jump on.
We're so glad. Karan, you should welcome her the way you did when she first came on.
Hi, Avo. Oh, fuck. I screwed it up already. No, it was a one take. I had a
bummer.
I had set up, had like 5 Norwegian phrases and things to say to welcome Helen. And it's just now it's too much pressure with the recording going.
Pressure. Bum, 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 bum.
I was very proud of myself.
But you did really good though. So I understood you. So it was perfect.
So thank you, Duolingo.
So Helen, we'd love for you to share with us the story of your pirate journey, like starting wherever you want. But what did your journey look like and how did you get to where you are today?
Well, I think from when I was younger, I just jump and I build my parachute on the way down. Or I just jump on the pirate ship and sail and without a compass, don't know where I'm going. And I think I've always just been like not a risk taker, but I take chances. When I was 17, I ran away from home. I had a very difficult childhood. My mother had an undiagnosed mental illness and she was an alcoholic. And so things were difficult. So when I was 17, I ran away from home in Norway. I was born in the US, went to Norway and lived there for about 10 years and escaped back to the US with just $1,000 cash and a plane ticket. So that was my first leap. And I've started my own business in 1993. And when my then husband and I ran the business together, and then I kind of, after we got divorced, I started my own business. And so I'm always about trying new things and doing new things. There was one time when I was, and I don't know if this is what you want for the pirate journey, when my son was younger, I think it was about 12, and I didn't have money for a concert ticket because I was, single mom, no child support and alimony. So I was working part-time for a magazine in Los Angeles, and I asked the publisher, could I, get passes to this concert? And she said, sure, just talk to the PR agency. So I did. And then they told me the same day, oh yeah, you're going to get tickets and come, and then you're going to go photo pass for the photo pit. And then you're going to, go interview the lead singer of the Bravery. And I'm like, okay. So like on the way down, my son was reading, and that we're going the mountain roads. He was reading to me about the Bravery. So I even knew who they were and all the information. Anyway, long story short, I ended up in the photo pit. I ended up in the tour van, sitting next to the groupies. That was something that was like different and fun. And then I end up with a little side hustle of interviewing rock stars and taking photos in the photo pit. And I've traveled around the world as a digital nomad.
Wonderful.
Long stories. I start going, and that's the end of that.
So your sneaky way of getting in to see a concert led to a career.
Yes, a side hustle, as I call
hustle.
Side hustles, and it was so fun. And just being in the photo pit. I didn't even have a camera. I had to ask my ex-husband to borrow his professional camera, and I didn't have a recorder. But it was I couldn't afford concert tickets. It was Project Revolution with Linkin Park. My second, first I took photos of the Bravery, and I was on their tour bus and talking to them. But then I got to do Linkin Park, and that was amazing for me because I love them. Not do Linkin Park, that sounds wrong. I got to take pictures of Linkin Park.
And so so what how has that led to the work you're doing now? What work are you doing now?
Well, now I've been doing graphic design, marketing, PR for a very long time. But I was always doing side hustles because I don't like to do one thing. I found out this year, which I've known for years, that I have ADHD. And
Mm.
so it makes it more difficult for me to focus on one thing. And I like constant change and constant stimulation, which probably, makes sense considering I like to travel around the world to different places and do
Mhm.
different things. So it just helped me be less fearless and just not just do the same thing every day.
Mhm. Mhm.
So in the work that you're doing, what would you say your social rebellion is that you're either creating or want to create?
In my current work or
Mhm.
my side
Or
hustles
or in life.
in life? Because my current work is not very rebellious,
Mm.
but I have I volunteer, not, this is not rebellious either. I volunteer. My sister runs an animal welfare center in Thailand. So I spend a lot of time there helping them out. And I also founded a nonprofit myself, but I haven't really been able to get it going. But I really like to do different things. I like to help people. So a lot of times I do things for nonprofits that are free or very inexpensive. And I just really like to help people and go against the norm of it's not all about the money. Traveling around the world taught me that the kindest, most generous people are the ones who have the least. And I'm not obsessed with money. So I like the freedom of being able to A, help people, and B, do the things that I want to do.
Mhm. And what is your not-for-profit that you've started?
It is called Reignite. It is going to be helping women gain skills to reenter the workforce. If you've been a mom for 20 years and you've been not working, if your partner dies or if you get divorced and like in my case, when you end up with no child support alimony because the county that you live in favors fathers,
Mm.
even though you were the one raising them, um, they have to struggle. You cannot support, as you know, on the West Coast, you cannot support a family and working for McDonald's or Ross.
Mhm.
So I want to teach them the technology skills that they may not have in order
Mhm.
to get better jobs.
Mm.
Mhm.
And what about the like the weight loss work that you've done that you do?
And let's see, when was it? In 2003, my father passed away. Had aggressive lung cancer. Back in the 80s and 90s, I was a fitness instructor. And then I kind of got away from that. I gained over 90 pounds. And I was just like feeling sorry for myself because nothing in life, I don't know, I was in that like whole mode, like, oh, my life sucks. I'm a victim, blah, 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 blah. And then after my father died, I thought, well, you know what? I'm just going to start walking. Maybe someday I could get back to teaching. I'm never going to lose weight. I've tried 1,000 times, and I just started walking and making small changes. And in 10 months, I lost over 80 pounds.
Mm.
I went from a size 20 to a size 4. And not that that means anything. I'm 5 feet tall. So it's like a size 4 is not that small if you're 5 feet tall. And I just started I did that while eating chocolate every day. So then I became a personal trainer and a certified spinning instructor part-time as another side hustle, which was
Mhm.
really good because my day job makes me sit all the time. And
Mm.
so I could teach spin, I could teach group X, I could train clients. And that really gave me an opportunity, A, to help people again,
Mhm.
and B, to get off my butt and, do something more physical.
Mm. And can you tell us about uh, your podcast,
Yeah, so
Walking and
walking and
Talking?
talking with Helen. I know you were driving and you probably almost got a ticket because I talk, because I talk you to speed up, slow down. So when the first year of the pandemic, I think it was December of 2020, so many people, the gyms were still closed. So many people couldn't get to the gyms. They were unmotivated. And not that I'm like super motivated because I haven't been teaching in 3 years now. But I thought, well, let me do something different. Let me make a podcast for people who want to walk. And so it's more like it's a motivational podcast, a mental health podcast, try to be inspirational podcast, but I also coach people on walking. So you go faster, you go slower. And then I talk in between to distract them from what we're doing.
Mhm.
And I decided that's a good way to motivate people. They can walk with me and they can just get out there and get some fresh air and get moving. And, your brain gets so stifled when sometimes you're just sitting there or you're working on something. And so to get out and just take a 10-minute walk, suddenly it's like you're unblocked in your head. So
Mhm.
that was my goal with that.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Mhm.
Um, and your books.
Well, I started my first book when I was 9 and never finished it because it was a piece of garbage, 'cause
So you were
I was
9?
9. But I always wanted to write a book. Now, the first book wasn't the book that I wanted to write, but I thought, I hear so many people struggling and they don't understand, like they try to follow these rules and they try to do keto or I probably wasn't keto in 2012 when I wrote the book, but it was like low carb, this and that. And I thought, let me write a book that will show people step by step what they need to do to get healthier mentally and physically, because every day is broken down into mental and physical. So like more motivation and mindset, and then the actual what steps you need to take. And so I wrote the book, and because it's really easy, common sense, calories in versus calories out. But so much of our struggle, like with me too, is in our heads. And so I really try to help people like get on top of that, because if you can conquer your mind, you can lose weight, you can travel around the world, you can do anything. It's just getting over that hump of like, we just want to, getting out of our own way.
Yeah, I was listening to an episode of your podcast, and you were talking about just emotional eating.
Yeah.
And I'd love for you to like dig more into that if you would.
Well, that was me. I'm queen of the emotional eater, and I've been eating a little too much again lately this last year because it's been a little stressful where I'm living. But because living with my mother was so challenging, I turned to food. She was an alcoholic, but I turned to food and I would eat and eat and eat. But because I would also run, I called myself like a binge eater, binge exerciser. So I would overeat, and then would run the next day, and then overeat. So at that point I wasn't overweight, but I would it was like my safety. It made me feel loved. It made me feel care. I know it sounds weird. It made me feel cared for. It made me feel good inside. It gave me a sense of peace. And I think that is really common, especially for women, not just women, especially for women. It's something for us. When the kids had gone to bed, I was running a business, volunteering in school, raising the kids, and they would go to bed and I would sit there with a spoon and a gallon of ice cream and just take that time for me. And that was really it gave me that feeling of, safety and security and peace.
Yeah. I mean, food. Sorry.
Oh yeah, I was just you think about it, like women, because so far back we've been the ones that make the meals. So it really, in a way, it makes sense that emotional eating is something that's even more common with women, because part of showing love for women is helping make food and provide for the family. So yeah, that makes sense when you say it like that too. Like as nurturers, it's a love language, food.
That is, yeah. Then think about that. Look what you just brought to the table. But it is just the way that we show love. So that's the way some of us show love to ourselves.
Yeah, food can be such a comfort too, right? Like you said, having that ice cream, and that's my favorite. That's my go-to. But having some ice cream, it can just like, it's that reward too, right? Like you're rewarding yourself, and you're having that self-comfort, self-soothing, when rather than facing what's actually going on.
Yeah.
You know
And there's
what I mean?
nothing wrong with having some ice cream. It's because I love ice cream. It's when it spirals out of control. And I say I eat everything that's not nailed down. Things I don't like. I don't like Oreos. I would find myself eating Oreos. I'm like, why? Because they're there. They have sugar.
Yeah. And so how did you get yourself out of that?
Started walking. So after my father passed away, I felt like just, I don't know. I think I wrote in my book, I think that I was waiting to die because I was so miserable, and I wasn't going to try to, I wasn't going to commit suicide or anything. My mother tried, I think she tried 12 times by the time I left at 17. But I'm like, I'll just continue eating. And then one day I won't wake up and this life will be over. And then after my father died, I realized, you know what, you are actually going to die someday, and you could sit around and be miserable, or you could start to take small steps to change your life. And I never knew it would go all the places it went. So I'm like, I just want to start walking and just eating. So I was a vegetarian who didn't eat vegetables. So
you're a carbitarian.
I was a carbitarian. So yeah, so I just started. And then as I started to get stronger, I got connected with that person I used to be, which was a person who loved fitness and who loved to do things and who taught Group X back in the 80s when nobody needed to be certified. That was me back then. And I just got stronger inside. And then I started to take more chances and do things that I never thought I could do physically and emotionally. And it was it wasn't about the weight. It was about just rediscovering who I used to be.
You said something too on your podcast episode when you talked about emotional eating, about how you it's like you were invisible during that time and that felt comfortable and you will enjoy that. So how did can you elaborate more on that, like that initial feeling and then how it felt going from releasing that invisibleness and stepping out into the world?
I like so as in this society, they already know women who are especially women who are overweight, become invisible.
Mhm.
You're not desirable. You're not anyone, quote unquote, men want to talk to. I'm one of those people. I like to be friends with all these different, I like to be friends with men. Like, don't look at me sexually. Cause I grew up in Norway. So we're like, women are equal truly equal.
Mhm.
And so but coming here and feeling that where women are so sexualized a lot, I felt like being overweight just gave me that cloak of invisibility. I could be funny. I could, talk to people, but they would never, quote unquote, often not consider me a sexual partner, which is great because I was married and I wasn't interested. And so I just felt very safe being overweight. When I lost weight, it was difficult because men would suddenly start to notice me, and it was very uncomfortable. And even after I got divorced, I didn't lose weight to get attention. I didn't get divorced because I wanted something else. I'm still single, but I wanted, it was very difficult when people start to look at me a different way. And I used to say, well, in my mind, like, if you didn't like me when I was overweight, you're not entitled to like me now, because I'm the same person. The packaging may be different. I don't like the way society treats overweight people and overweight women as like we don't have self-control. We don't have anything to offer. I got on a tangent there, but it was difficult at first. And people I knew and men I knew would treat me differently. And I didn't like that at all, because I'm the same person.
Mm-hmm. So being in a larger body and feeling invisible was a mechanism of feeling safe for you then?
Yeah. And because my mother was very promiscuous, she would bring men home. I would wake up in the middle of the night because there was some man trying to get into my bed, and I would kick them out. And so I didn't like attention from men, because it never ended up good. It was always, for a long time, it was just really something negative. So I liked the invisibility. I liked being able to talk to men like I wanted to, like a friend, without them sexualizing me again, because I grew up in Norway. And this younger generation, they're so cool because they have male and female friends. But in my generation, if you have a male friend, you're like, oh, they want to secretly have sex with you. Well, not necessarily, no. But being overweight helped keep that barrier up.
Yeah,
So
I'm thinking I'm gonna want to go to Norway.
It's really, and women and men are equal. Men will not hold the door open for you. No problem with that, but you get equal pay. And you have lots of men get paternity leave. They get, I think, maybe 6 months. It might be more. Women get like a year or two. It's really nice because you are completely equal. It is.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really cool. This is my feminist rant for today.
Like it.
I'm here for it. I mean, the reason I'm learning Norwegian is that's where I want to end up. And I'm in Canada. Like, I got it pretty good. But when there's somewhere that I'm like, ooh, could just be a little bit better.
Yeah.
Like, let's try there.
Norway is one of the happiest countries. I just don't like the weather. I don't like the spring, summer, beautiful. Winter, very cold. I don't like the cold. I like the summer.
Yeah. Well, yeah, from Norway to California, like.
Karan, you were going to ask something when I interrupted, weren't you?
I totally forgot.
Oh, okay. I interrupted her.
The story of my life. I totally forget everything.
Well, then what we like to talk about good trouble and creating it. That's our main thing, is like encouraging people to keep creating that good trouble. So when I say good trouble, I'm curious, what does that mean to you? And then how are you creating good trouble in the world?
There's a couple of different things I feel like when I hear good trouble. One of them is just to act first and ask for forgiveness later. To me, that's kind of like good trouble, because you can, do something. Oops, I'm sorry. Well, that worked out though, didn't it? And then really just like secretly inspiring people to make change. So it's like seeing people change things in their lives, but like encouraging them like in a non-pressuring way, and just seeing the change that they make, to me, that's in a way that's kind of good trouble, because sometimes their lives change and sometimes it's not always 100% better. Like it is better, but something might have happened along the way. Like when I was a spinning instructor, I would teach other people to become spinning instructors. For some reason, when you start teaching and you grow inside, a lot of times your marriage ends up failing. Not spinning instructors are going to be divorced, but because you grow inside. And so you see that. And yeah, some people, have been divorced because they just, they started changing inside and growing, and and the other partner, when one partner changes and the other one doesn't, it can cause an issue. So, but it's like, so just helping people grow and change. And even though things may change that they thought they didn't want in the beginning, to me, that's in some ways like good trouble. And then just having fun and laughing, and even in business, I try to laugh. I have fun with my current clients and just try to, bring some joy to the world. To me, that is also good trouble in a roundabout way, not like manifesting way, but like a fun way.
We also talk a lot about taking bold action, and you've obviously taken a lot of bold action in your life. What is something recently that you've done to take bold, or a recent bold action you've taken?
Well, this last year has not been so much, actually, since the pandemic, not so much bold action, except maybe starting the podcast. I do like to, like I said, to do things and build a parachute, on the jump, and build a parachute on the way down. I'm working on some courses now, not for weight loss, although I do have a few clients there, because I'm really not focusing on that. I just have some existing clients I work with, but just trying something new, trying courses, jumping into things. I've taken some coaching and classes that I probably shouldn't have spent the money on, but I did because I just want to do new things. For me, it's going places. Like when I traveled as digital nomad, both by myself and with the kids, I traveled with very little money because I run my own business. But when I'm traveling, I only have so much time to work. So just, even though you don't have the money to go and things don't make sense, and I would go anyway because I just needed to experience something different.
What are some of the places that's taken you?
Aside from Norway and Europe, I've been, Bosnia, Kosovo, Montenegro, and then I've been to Poland and Greece and Romania and Germany. But I like the little places, that I've been to, like the out of the way that people don't think about. I went to Serbia, just all over, like, because the reason I ended up in the Balkans was because over the summer I couldn't afford Europe. And I also needed to get out of Europe because being an American citizen, you only have so much time that you can stay in the EU. So you stop the clock by jumping out of the EU. And so I stopped the clock and ended up, I met two different women when I was in Malaysia, and digital nomads. And they both said, I said, where should I go over the summer? And they said, well, I thought they said Syria. And I'm like, yeah, well, that's cheap, I'm sure, but it's war torn. I'm not going to go to Syria. They said Serbia. So I went to Serbia, but then I loved Bosnia. Montenegro was just amazing. And I just like to go to the little places, more less touristy places. Milan, I went to Milan, but it wasn't my favorite. It's too many tourists. So I like to go to the places that are little, like most people haven't been to, like Bosnia, for example.
What are some of the lessons you learned along the way as a digital nomad? That word was hard to get out.
I can't speak at all. So there you go. Sometimes I go, I can't speak English, even though I do speak English, because sometimes Norwegian gets in my head. That we don't need the stuff that we have. I had to travel. The only things I had with me was whatever could fit in my backpack. If I wanted something new, something else had to go. There's only so much you can squeeze into that backpack, and realize that we don't need all the stuff. We don't need the fancy car. We don't need the nice house. We don't need all this expensive stuff. You have clothes, and you have shoes, and you have books, and you have your laptop, and that's about it. We don't need all the stuff, all the trappings. We get trapped. Speaking of trappings, we get trapped in this life working jobs that we don't like because we want to pay for stuff. But I learned that stuff is not important.
The trappings trap us.
See, it inspired me. I said a word, and I'm like, ooh.
So, go ahead.
Where can our listeners go to find out more about you and what you're doing?
Well, my podcast is walkingandtalking.show. My blog is realworldweightloss.com. I have not updated it in a few months, but actually I have to come up with new podcast episodes. I've been a little busy actually doing client work. Can you believe like people want me to work for the money I make? I'm like, what? What? You're not just going to pay me because I'm nice. So the realworldweightloss.com is the blog, and walkingandtalking.show. And I'm finally going to put together my own website, just a personal website. I haven't gotten that far yet. Instagram is real Helen M. Ryan, because also, believe it or not, there are a lot of Helen Ryans in the world. I'm like, what? I thought I was the only one. When I flew Ryanair, I was hoping for something special because, you know, my last name was the same as the airline, but they gave me nothing.
Rude. I know
rude.
when I signed up for Instagram or changed my name on Instagram, I wanted to be Coach Karan, and there was already a Coach Karan. I'm like, how can there possibly already be a Coach Karan? I'm the only one.
I know.
Apparently not.
I don't understand. I'm like, no, we're special. We're special. So
Right?
special. You guys might be too young for that song.
Nope,
That was the
I get
Pretenders.
Did we hit all the places?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
And then, I forgot. Sorry. My travel Instagram, which obviously has not been updated since the pandemic, really is midlife crisis traveler with 2 L's, because I think 1 L was taken, just like you said. So midlife crisis traveler, in case someone wants to see some of the places I've been. I love to talk about travel. There's a couple of things that light me up talking about travel and talking about spin and cats and chocolate. But it's like, so that's where my passions lie. I love to travel.
Awesome.
What's your favorite chocolate?
Something European or Norwegian, American chocolate. And when you taste European chocolate, then you taste American chocolate. American chocolate is very waxy because a lot of it is made with cheaper ingredients because it's mass produced. It's a big country, you know, so you have a lot of preservatives and things because I have to travel far. European chocolate is really good. And even the simple ones like Milka, I think, is a Swiss chocolate. Anything Swiss is really good.
Are you able to get it in the US?
To a point, like some places will sell I don't know if they sell that, but they sell some chocolates. There's a little Norwegian shop in Temecula, which is an hour north of me, and then IKEA has some Swedish chocolate. So every time I go to IKEA, I pick up some Swedish chocolate.
Oh, there's an IKEA not far from my house.
Oh, go check it out.
Yeah. Already Canadian chocolate's better than American anyways.
I can imagine. Yeah. I don't know why. It just doesn't taste good. I mean, I'll eat it in an emergency. But
well, plus like we can get Kinder Surprise here.
Oh, yes. One time, okay, I don't want to be arrested. One time I smuggled the Kinder eggs.
Did you?
From Europe to the US. And later on, I found out you can get like a $25,000 fine. I was just trying to bring my kids something.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, okay, so I smuggled like a pirate.
You are that was very pirate.
Kinder eggs because of the choking hazard, but my kids were too big to choke on them.
Really, that's saying something for the US that we can't trust children not to put something in their mouth and not swallow a toy that's like fitting into an egg.
I think it's a plastic egg actually or with the chocolate but who's going to stick that in their mouths? But then again, there's a label on chainsaws that said do not stop blade with bare hands. So that explains a lot.
We like to sue in the US over everything.
That is true. Yeah. So Norwegian chocolate or Swedish chocolate. No, European chocolate. I need more caffeine.
Which you get in chocolate.
Yes, that's true. Chocolate and coffee. There's a train I want to take, digress again. It's through Switzerland and it's a wine. No, I don't drink wine. It's a cheese and chocolate train. I'm like, oh my God, that would be my dream. Cheese and chocolate and watching the beautiful view. I mean, how much better can you get?
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
On my bucket list. So the train was only like $99. Just getting there was a little more expensive.
Yeah.
But I think it goes around Lake Geneva. Geneva to the Finland station. That's Pet Shop Boys. I know every song to every word to every 80s song written, but I don't know what day it is or the names of my children.
Legit. Yeah, before we wrap up, is there anything you'd like to ask us or you want to add?
I love the idea of your podcast. I love people living differently. I love people doing things a different way. It's okay to be yourself. It's okay to march to your own beat or you know, to do your own thing. And I really love when people do that, encouraging people to do that because our lives are so short. and we live on this treadmill. That's why I started traveling, because I was on a treadmill that was going faster and faster and faster, and I was staying in the same place. So just being a pirate, being a rebel. I'm starting a podcast for entrepreneurs. It's going to be, well, the group is Rebels in Charge. It's going to be Rebels something, because I believe, like you guys, just living differently and living your way. Like, why should we listen to what other of course, we can't be mean people and break the law, but except for the smuggling Kinder eggs. But, why should we listen to other people? Let's do where our heart takes us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's something you said in there that I was like, yes, that, and now it's left. It's wandered off.
That's how I am. And people look at me and I'm like, well, that's my life. That's why I interrupt people. If I don't get it out now, it's going to be gone.
Well, you had some really good advice in what you said, but is there anything else that you'd add for recommending or a recommendation to our listeners for how they could start their own pirate journey?
I think a lot of us get trapped in our lives, and not necessarily in a bad way. We get stuck and we don't know what we can do. And like, oh, I'll never make this change. I'll never lose weight. I'll never travel. But if you make a small change towards something, like let's just say you don't think you can afford to travel, but if you stop drinking Starbucks, you take the money you were going to spend, the $5 or $7, depending on where you are, you take that money, you put it in a bank account. In 1 year, let's say you drink Starbucks 4 times a week, you put that away. That's enough to get you started. You make the small steps. Don't wait until you have all the time. Don't wait until you have all the money. Don't wait, because it's never going to be that time where everything's perfect and all the stars align. Start small steps, start walking. When the kids were little and I would try to exercise, and my daughter was nursing and I was doing crunches on the floor and she would crawl over and she would start nursing, I would be like, crunch up, kid on the boob, crunch down, kid still on the boob. I was frustrated. I didn't go to the gym because I couldn't get into childcare. And so I used that as an excuse, but I could have taken them walking. So if you do something small, if you can volunteer, if there's a cause that's close to your heart, if your life feels dull and blah, help people who are less fortunate, help animals. They need you. You can volunteer 1 day a week somewhere. You could feed the homeless. You could go work for an animal shelter. Yeah, you might have to scoop some poop, but the change that you make those little changes in your life, which help someone else. And it's enough to give you that feeling of doing something different. And when you help people, you release endorphins, just like with exercise, and you just feel better about yourself. And then you kind of you just take it from there, and then you make little changes, because sometimes you can't make big changes. You have to start small, but do something rebellious, do something different that will bring you a joy and bring we can't wait for the knight on the white horse. He's not coming, so we have to do it ourselves.
Yeah, there's a saying we like to say that there's no one coming to save you. You're safe. You need to be the one to save yourself. So if you're sitting there waiting for somebody to come save you, well, stop. It's you. You are your knight on the white horse.
And there was a pirate joke. Remember what was that? What's the pirate's favorite part of a song? It's the hook. I remembered after you
got it.
Well done.
I'm not good with jokes.
Well, that was great.
And it was one we hadn't heard before. So
yeah, that's even better.
It's rare.
I used to have a real hard time remembering jokes. Like my dad would love to tell them, and I'd try to repeat how he would tell jokes, and would usually tell the punchline in the joke and then be like, oh, I messed that up. And then I worked with 5-year-olds who I realized once they're later in the 5 stages, they're starting to understand jokes. And if they have a parent that loves telling jokes, they can pick it up earlier. But that was a good practice with not having to be perfect with jokes, to be like, I can tell the worst jokes ever. And the worse it is, the better it'll come across to a 5-year-old.
They love it. And they're just, then they tell the really bad jokes and we have to laugh, but they're so cute though.
Yes. I heard many, knock, knock, who's there? Eyeball who? Pineapple, macaroni, cheese.
And to them, it makes perfect sense.
It does.
I mean, we're all laughing.
Yes. Oh, that's true.
Mm.
Kids and
Well-
cats and chocolate. How's that?
And
Mhm.
dogs.
Dogs. I love dogs too.
Well, this has been great getting a chance to chat with you and hearing your story and your journey, and looking forward to walking and talking with you.
Yay. And I really love when I can interact with people. So, people can reach me on the website. They can send me messages and tell me, and what people want me to talk about. Obviously I love to talk, as you can hear, blah, blah. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm talking to humans. I'm talking to grownups. What? So I just
Amazing.
talk and talk and talk.
Amazing. Well, ha een good dag and tusen tak.
Tusen tak. Tusen tak for the show. I left a message with one of my friends in Norway because I can't write in Norwegian, and I recorded and I go, oh, my Norwegian's not very good. She goes, no, because I've been gone for 30 some years. And she's like, no, it's really good. It was so weird to hear the recording of me speaking Norwegian. I'm like, what? I do still speak Norwegian good. Because when I lived there, you couldn't tell I wasn't native because I went when I was like 7 or 8.
Amazing.
Well, thanks again.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm excited.